job dressed as a French Marine, but the important part that I want you to note is the fact that today I'll be shooting a musket. It's a smoothbore, a flintlock musket. All right, what I've already done, I've grabbed some ammunition out of my cartridge box here, and I opened it. Now what this is a paper tube, and it's filled with black powder, and there's a musket ball at the bottom. Toby, do you have your cutaway? Yeah. All right, Toby's going to come around with a cutaway of what this looks like. So what I did is I opened the cartridge with my teeth. I poured a little bit of the black powder into this pan. That means when I pull this trigger, this piece of flint is going to strike this steel hammer, produce some sparks that are going to land on top of the black powder I just put in there. All right? Take the rest of my cartridge. I'm going to dump that down the barrel. Now what I'm left with is this paper tube, and what would be inside that paper tube, as you can see there, is that round lead musket ball. All right, now, the musket ball would actually be slightly loose fitting in the barrel because I want to load this in 15 seconds, all right? And that's because a loose fitting musket ball, you just have to plop it down the barrel. A tight fitting musket ball, you'd have to jam it all the way down the musket barrel, and that would take some time. Now that is useful if you have a rifle, which is basically a musket with spiral grooves drilled to the inside of it that spin that rifle ball as it leaves the barrel. And if it's spinning, thanks to the law of conservation of angular movement, it's going to travel straight through the air. But since this is not a rifle, it's a musket, it's smooth on the inside, I can use that slightly loose-fitting musket ball to load quickly. But with that, if I have a slightly loose-fitting musket ball in my musket barrel, and I decide to saunter up to the top of that hill, and I point the gun down at my enemy, what happens to that loose-fitting musket ball without this piece of paper? It falls out, exactly. At that point, how bad do I look? Really very extremely. So I'm going to take out my ramrod. I'm going to ram that piece of paper down with the musket ball. And here's a pretty underrated but important part of the process. I'm going to remove the ramrod from the barrel. I hate to say this, but you can't turn anyone into a shish kebab by shooting this out of your musket, because what's going to happen is it's going to fly maybe 30 feet through the air. It might do a loop-de-loop for you if you're lucky, but it's going to land pretty harmlessly on the ground. And even if you were to hit somebody with this in that flight path, short of hitting them directly in the eye, you're not going to do too much damage to them. Now, how do I know that information? Because we tested that at the range too, for science, of course. All right, so I'm going to put this back where I got it. Now I'm ready to shoot. So hopefully here goes. On the count of 3, 2, 1.
That was loud.
Okay, notice the smoke. Right, I know it's kind of windy, so it's wisping away, but you can see we're on the 18th century battlefield where there's like hundreds, maybe even thousands of guys plus cannon shooting. You can see where it gets so smoky that it would be hard to see. So if you guys were there on that smoky, hard-to-see 18th century battlefield, who is going to be more dangerous to you? Is it going to be the enemy 200 yards in front of you that you can't see through the smoke? Or is it going to be your friends 10 feet behind you that can't see you through the smoke? Your friends, they're closer, they're going to do more damage to you. All right, so to prevent friendly fire in the 18th century, that's why everybody wears a brightly colored coat. Because of the contrast, you get to see through the smoke who you're supposed to shoot at, more importantly though, who you're not supposed to shoot at. Alright, now before I let you go, who here likes weapons?
Me.
Oh, excellent, lots of enthusiasm. If you didn't raise your hand, too bad, I'm going to show you anyway, because I'm the one with the weapons. Alright, so the second weapon I have for you today, you guys should be familiar with what this is. The sword. This is actually a pretty obsolete weapon by the 1700s, and kind of a hangover from the previous century. The reason why these are obsolete is because you can only do one thing with a sword. That is stab people. Now, that might be an appealing activity for some of you, but the problem with stabbing people is, on the 18th century battlefield, the people you're going to stab with this sword, guess what they also have? They don't have armor, but they have guns. They have shooting things, cannons. They have muskets too. So, by the time you get into range to actually use your sword for its one intended purpose of stabbing, what kind of cheese are you going to turn into?
Swiss cheese.
Swiss, exactly, because you're going to be full of holes. Now, while we're on the subject of putting holes in people, I have my final weapon. And what it does is it turns my shooty thing into a shooty stabby thing.
Yay!
Yeah, this is a triangular socket bayonet. And what's really nasty about these blades is they're making them triangular on purpose, and that's so they don't bend or break as easily. Think about it. Steel quality today in 2024 is a lot better than it was in the 18th century. So back then, they had to pick a shape that wouldn't bend or break in combat. And that triangle shape is one of the strongest shapes known to man. That's why they're making them triangular. But The side bonus is the fact that you will give people triangular wounds, and even today in 2024, I've been told by doctors and modern medical professionals that triangular wounds are still difficult to seal. I didn't say stitch, I said seal. You really can't stitch that up. Let alone in the 18th century, you're probably just going to bleed out, and if you don't bleed out from the shape of the wound, does this blade look overly clean to anyone here?
No.
No. It's got rust on it, so it's tetanus going into your bloodstream. Dirt, which is infection. Plus, there's an ingredient in black powder. It's called saltpeter. We know it as potassium nitrate. And a way to get that in the 18th century is by taking a barrel, filling it partially with cow manure, so cow poop. Then you're going to put wood chips in there for carbon content. Then there's one more ingredient. I'm going to make somebody guess what this is, though. Here's a helpful hint. All of you have made this yourselves. Today, probably.
Shit.
Somebody said it over here. Human pee. If you think I'm making this up, I paid money to a college for this information. Yep. So what's going to happen? All that bacteria from the cow manure go up through the carbon into your urine. There's actually a lot of stuff in your urine. But the bacteria separates that out into individual components, eventually leaving you with a puddle of liquid potassium nitrate after about a year. You're going to crystallize it. You're going to do a whole bunch of stuff to it. Really, I said all of that just to say this. We're chemically cooking poop and pee and putting it into people. Which is why this is less of a weapon and more of a scare tactic. Because if you were to see me and 1,000 of my French buddies, now I know you see in the movies where somebody says charge and they all start sprinting at the enemy, that would never happen. Because if that did happen, you've now taken your nice organized line you can control and turned it into a disorganized, chaotic mob you can no longer control. So instead, what's really going to happen in the 18th century is they're going to start walking at you like this, giving you time to think about this encroaching wall of triangular 6-foot pipes covered in rust, dirt, poop, pee, and other assorted bodily fluids. What do you do?
Run.
Whoever just said bye, good job. Yeah, run away. Bye was probably the best answer I got all day, all right? You're going to run away because you get to live to fight another day. And as an infantryman, if you were my enemy and you were to start running, I'm not going to chase after you for the most part because you've left the field. I've taken it. I've won the day. My job is done. I don't have to pursue you guys any further. And speaking of pursuit, like I said earlier, I've got 2 heavy wool coats on my upper body. Do I want to run after anything? No. It was a very rhetorical question, admittedly, but no, I don't. All right, so with that, I have my demonstration. If you have any questions, ask your guide or ask anybody in a silly hat because we are not dressed up all pretty for nothing. Thank you.
Hi guys, we should start